Hey loves, welcome. We're here to share loving vibrations and to encourage oneness. We shall deeply discuss about frequency, quantum physics, loving vibrations, energy, law of attraction. We hope you will share the love and spread it too.
Spirituality is, first of all, every being is spiritual. There's no one that's not spiritual. The word spiritual, timeless, eternal, all have the same meaning. So being a spiritual being means that we are an eternal being. So spirituality is the process by which we come into that knowing. We actually come into an awareness that we are spiritual. There are many people that are sleepwalking who have no idea that they're eternal beings. They think their genesis began with their parents getting together. They think their genesis is something that happened to them on the experiential level. So they're not aware that they're spiritual. So spirituality are the practices that we use to become aware of our spiritual nature so that the timeless, eternal can begin to express through us. That's intelligence, that's love, that's beauty, that's abundance. I believe that we have, first of all, you used the word purpose.
Yeah.
And so everyone has the same purpose. And our purpose is to reflect and to reveal this grand cosmos, this grand presence, in a way that only we can. So this presence, which never makes a mistake and never does a do-over, has created us as unique beings. So being spiritual means that we are activating the potential of who we are because no one else can be us. We're the only ones that can be us. So if we're not going to come into our full spiritual measure, then that potential that is within us is lost.
Okay.
So we all are living from a mandate of that. And so it's an imperative. And because the universe is on purpose and the universe is progressive, it creates scenarios for us to wake up, to come back to our purpose over and over and over again. On planet Earth, which is a school, of course, you have every single stage of development on one planet. You have individuals that have no idea that they're spiritual, that are operating from an instinctual, animalistic consciousness, all the way to people that are aware that they're spiritual, who are operating more from a divine context, and every stage in between, all on one planet. Every being lives in a different world, based on their perception. So most of the time, I'm living in a very peaceful world. The world that I'm living in is tremendous joy, compassion, friendship, love, prosperity. That's the world I live in. I see the other world, but I'm not living in that world.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay? Now, as long as there are individuals on the planet who have a belief in scarcity and separation, then there's going to be that experience on the planet. You see, it's just the way that is. But we are quickening to where the outer world is beginning to reflect a greater awareness of our oneness with life. Now, it may not look like it, but right now we're living on the planet in which it's the most peaceful time in human history based on the amount of population that's on the planet. There's less war, less disease, less killings on the planet right now than any time in human history.
We don't always hear about this.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
So based on population, I mean, you take into consider the population, it's the most peaceful, one of the most peaceful times on the planet. Doesn't look like it, but it is. So when you step back and look at that, then the outer world is starting to reflect the inner eternal values that we all hold. What I'd like to remind people of is that the universe, which is the external outpicturing of the order of the mind of God, the mind of love and beauty, whatever name you want to put there, it's progressive. It reflects back to you your state of consciousness, and it reflects back to you the questions that are constantly going through in your mind. So people have regular questions that they ask. Many times, people are unconscious about their inquiry. So they'll fall prey to what's wrong? Who's to blame? Whose fault is it? Why me? So if you're going to begin the spiritual path, you have to up-level your questioning. You have to begin to ask things like, what gift is in me? that is seeking to express itself? What potential is here that wants to be activated? What's my next step in my own unfolding? Now, if an individual begins to sincerely hang out in that kind of questioning, there'll be a vibrational match. An answer will begin to come in a language and in a way that you can understand, followed by action. So you'll actually be pulled into a greater expression of living by the questions that you ask.
Yeah.
You see. So most people ask disempowering questions. You know, they'll ask questions mainly operating from the survival aspect. You know, how can I get more? How can I navigate through all of this turmoil? You gotta up level the question. What's seeking to emerge in my life right now? You know, if you take that question and put it at the level, let's say, of a plant, then a rose is trying to emerge. You take it to the level of a human being, and then there's a Buddhic field. There's a Christ awareness that's trying to emerge. But not like the Buddha, not like Jesus, like Sean, like Michael.
Yes.
Unique expression of that same quality. My artistry, my love, my beauty, my unique way of expressing that. And the moment we begin to walk in that kind of direction, we end up no longer hand-holding with the status quo. Now there's something new that's never happened before, because I've never happened before.
Yeah.
That wants to come forward.
Yeah.
You see. And so we're living in an adventure. That's why I say, you know, you want to wake up and actually live your life as if you're on an adventure. And so what happens? The activity of your awareness expands. You become more alert. If I say today, come on, Sean, we're going to go on a hike, and we've never gone down this path before, you know, we're going to go in with a level of expanded awareness, heightened awareness. We're going to see things we've never seen before. We're going to create a new path, you know. And so I always advise people to live life like you're on an adventure.
Yes.
You know, you don't know what's going to happen, but because the universe is progressive, it's going to be good if you're asking the right question. I think when you're dealing with goals.
Yeah.
You see, there's task-oriented people, there's goal-oriented people, and then there is purpose-oriented people.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so there are individuals that do tasks, they have no goals. Then there are individuals that are goals, but they have no purpose. Then there are individuals that live a larger purpose. Now, when you're living a larger purpose, you do have goals and you do tasks. So when you're in a dynamic of a larger purpose, you can set goals, and you can say, you know, I'd like to graduate from school within the next 4 or 5 years, or I'd like to learn this particular instrument, become proficient in it in this particular period of time, or I'd like to start my business, and I'd like to see my business profitable by the 3rd year. You know, and so you can definitely set goals. Or I'd like to get my body temple in shape.
Yes.
There might be a level of obesity or a level of diabetes or a level of something. I'd like to hone the body temple. So I want to do that. And by this time next year, I'd like to see myself being able to walk 3 miles without getting winded. Or, you know, so you definitely can set goals. But the goals, I like to say that your goals. I don't really like to use the word should. I don't like to should on each other. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, we prefer that the goals are in a dynamic, greater purpose.
Yes.
And what is that purpose? My purpose is to reveal the face of divinity.
Absolutely.
So I want to reveal the face of divinity with a good body temple, perhaps a business that's profitable and providing a great service to people, or I'm activating a certain gift or talent by a particular period of time.
Absolutely.
So, because you know this, that there are people who have achieved goals who aren't happy because they have no larger purpose. Goal allows you to become strong enough to give.
Yes.
So, if in fact I burn myself out just trying to be a giver, but I haven't yet developed my own gifts, my talents, activated my capacity, developed the level of health around my psychological well-being, my emotional well-being, my physical, my financial well-being, I have nothing to give. So we have goals to develop ourselves. Then we become better instruments of giving. If I hand you a flute and you don't know how to play it, and I say, you know, go inspire that person over there with this flute, and you're just gonna make noise.
Nothing I can do, yeah.
But if you take the time and develop yourself with a level of proficiency around flute playing, then if I say, Sean, those people over there need to be inspired, then you can take your flute and you can go do it.
Yeah.
But you've developed yourself first. Now you've gone into giving.
Absolutely.
So it's not either or, it's simultaneous.
It's a duality, yes.
Yeah, it's like I'm developing myself and I want to be in the vibration of giving and serving humanity or people in my neighborhood or my family or whatever.
Absolutely.
We're living in a time in which a lot of our science are basically validating altruism
Yes.
and generosity and forgiveness. So there's a number of studies that show that when an individual gives, the endorphins and the chemicals that flood their body amp up their immune system, slow down the aging process, help develop a greater sense of coherence on the brain function, and allows you to think more critically. So just in terms of your health, if you somewhere within your domain ask, how can I be a giver?
Yes.
You become a healthier being.
Okay. Yeah.
And then metaphysically, form follows your state of consciousness. So the hands of the givers are never empty. If you ask, how can I give today? And then you start to be guided as to how you can give, then the universe matches that desire. And then you have more to give.
Yeah.
If you become miserly and stingy, you end up losing what you have.
Yes.
Or you end up living in fear of losing, which is the same thing. We develop a spiritual practice, and then we change the world where we are, wherever our gifted area is. So that if I'm a teacher and I go into a classroom, I get to bring a vision and a possibility to those students.
Yes.
So they get to live in the possibility of a different world. If I'm in medicine, then I get to go with my clients and bring them into a holistic vibratory frequency of medicine. I get to change their world. You know, if I'm a musician, I get to open myself up and catch compositions and arrangements that'll uplift the spirit.
Yes.
You know, and then little by little by little, the world changes. Now, we have to be reminded, and I've been teaching this for a while, that there's a difference between the planet and the world.
Okay.
You know, planet Earth is 3/4 water. It's mountain ranges. It's dirt. It's alive. It's sacred. Mother Earth is alive. And then there's the world. The world is the synergetic connection of beliefs, opinions, perspectives, and points of view that creates a worldview. So two people can be standing on the same spot on the planet, but be in different worlds.
Yes.
You see, the inner narrative is creating a different world.
Yeah.
So what we're in the process of doing is helping people actually change their narrative, which changes their world. Then the outer world begins to reflect that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So world and planet are not synonymous. The world is a play of content of consciousness.
Yes.
From those who feel a sense of separation, all the way to those who are living in the realm of the divine. It's just a play of consciousness. It's perfect, you see. And it's better now than it used to be.
Yes.
And it will be better 10 years from now. Why? Because more and more people are meditating, studying. I mean, you look back 10, 12 years ago when The Secret hit, that was a revolutionary thing.
Absolutely.
Even though a lot of us we already knew those principles.
Yes.
They were old hat for many people. But for millions of people, suddenly it was like, I can actually choose my thought. I can actually change my mind. I can actually participate in my own destiny. I called The Secret a Trojan horse.
Yes.
You know,
it really was.
It snatched people's minds with prosperity, relationships, and body temple. You know, the externals.
Yes.
But then as you go, it was a Trojan horse just to get you in.
Absolutely.
And once you got in, you realize, oh, this deeper teachings. You cannot transcend what you haven't mastered.
Okay.
So you want to master the art of visualization so that you're not falling prey to your mind running rampant with worst case scenarios, which is what the news does for you.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like, if you don't think for yourself, then something's thinking for you. And it's generally a worst case scenario. You know, somebody's, let's say they're driving to work, there's traffic, they're gonna be late. All of a sudden the mind starts to, I'm gonna be late, I'm gonna be fired, and I'm gonna be fired, I'm gonna lose my house, I'm gonna be homeless, I'm gonna be on the street begging for money. You know, the mind just
goes insane.
to a worst case scenario. So the power of visualization then allows you to establish best case scenarios, not attached to them, but creating a best case scenarios so that there's a trending towards that. And then as you begin to develop the mind or take back your mind, so it's not hijacked by worst case scenarios, but it's trending towards best case scenarios, now you can open yourself up to what's trying to emerge to me that I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
You know, here's the trick. If you can imagine it, it ain't it.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Because you can't imagine a formless, timeless, eternal presence. It's beyond your imagination and it's infinite. So your imagination, your imaginal skills take you to a certain point.
Yeah.
Then you have to leap into the unimaginable realm where more good than you could possibly imagine begins to flow.
So it's not an either or, it's a both.
It's both.
Absolutely.
You establish mastery in what I call stage 2, using the imagination, and then you flow into being available for more good than you can imagine.
Yeah.
People often say, what's the advanced teachings?
Yes.
I say, beginning teachings, theory, advanced teaching is practice.
Yes.
That's the advanced teaching.
Fantastic, yes.
So take all of this and you actually practice. You actually take a period of time every day where you actually practice, you actually study, you actually affirm the truth, you actually affirmatively pray, you actually practice so your mind is hanging out in best case scenarios. You actually practice asking empowering questions and making yourself available to it, practicing being still, going into meditation. Reading allows for new neurons to develop.
Yes.
When you actually read, and sometimes if you read and actually say some things out loud, you're using your visual cortex, you're using your verbal, and you're using your ears to hear what you're saying.
Yes.
So you're using all the senses to make yourself free.
Yes.
You see. So you read and you practice, and then you can actually see the trajectory of your life change. Keep a journal. You can look back 12 months ago. This was my greatest fear, my greatest complaint. I was feeling this all the time. Wow. I don't really visit that place that much anymore.
Yes.
I'm kind of visiting possibility now. I'm visiting potential. What happened?
Yes.
You know, on a subconscious level, which is like the conscious mind is like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Directional, conscious. On the subconscious level is where all the beliefs and tendencies are. So if you just do a little stab at it, you may have a little progress, a little grace notes will show up, but you're not really getting at the subconscious tendencies. So it's like if you're driving if you're at the helm of a great ship going an ocean liner, and the captain says, we went ahead in this direction, the boat's still gonna go in the old direction. The momentum is gonna take you in that old, even though you've given the direction, you've actually turned the wheel. The boat is still going to go in that direction for a while because that's the momentum of that direction. And then slowly it begins to turn. So if one begins to practice, in the beginning, the momentum of their previous belief will carry them for a while. And then little by little, there'll be a slow turn. And they'll get little insights. They'll get little pinpricks of change. And then you're now heading in a different direction. And then that picks up. You know, inertia then becomes momentum.
Yeah.
And momentum becomes a new trend and a new insight, a new pattern. So I would just acknowledge people to stay inspired and not give up. You know, in Kemet, otherwise known as Egypt, they used to have on certain walls for the adepts, stay inspired.
Yes.
So once you have the theory, then you place yourself in a higher attractive field to stay inspired while the change is happening. That's why you go to spiritual communities. That's why you listen to this podcast. That's why you go and you hear people like in England. You go hear Carrie Mills Austin.
Yes.
You stay inspired. So while the change is happening, you're staying inspired. Nothing's happening yet. I don't know what's going on. So you
Stay inspired.
You get to a field that's higher than yours. So you stay inspired. Then when the change starts to happen, you say, oh, this stuff really works.
Yes.
Then you become a point of inspiration. Everyone is unique, but not special.
Okay, yes.
We're all unique expressions of this infinite life. And there aren't special people. They're just people who have specialized their attention. Using, again, the piano analogy, there are people that are virtuoso. Music flows, but they specialized.
Yes.
The universal presence just say, I'm going to create a very special piano player. No. That person had to study. That person had to practice. That person had to put in long hours until noise became music.
Yes.
So each of us are unique. And if we then specialize, make sacred our time, study, practice, study, practice, study, practice, study, practice, then what looks like we're special, it's really we just specialized our attention.
Yes.
And allow for the gift to emerge. Sometimes people will see me speaking and they'll say, you made that look so easy, you must be special. I say, no. You know how many years of meditation and prayer and study and surrender and sacrifice and going through dark night of the soul, all of that to be able to stand up and say a few words.
Yeah.
So I would just add to everyone that they're unique.
Yeah.
They're powerful. They're significant. They have meaning. God is a meaning-making machine. Everyone has meaning. And there's no one that is exempted from the abundance, the prosperity, the well-being, the wellness, the intelligence, the love, the joy, the bliss. No one is exempted from that. But we're at the end of one stage of evolution, and we're at the apex of the next stage of our evolution. And that next stage is we have to participate in our own unfolding. Under the old stage of evolution, species evolved based on external weather conditions. But now we evolve based on our own participation and our own thinking process, our own choosing process, our own spiritual practice. So let me just say this. A person can evolve their life in 1 year. You can actually change your life. In 1 year, you can be a different person if you study and practice, study and practice, study and practice. People are jump for joy for that.
Absolutely.
It's like, what? I'm not a victim to what's happened to me. I'm not a victim to my circumstance. I can actually change my life.
In 1 year.